People used to treat me like I was nothing, but little did they know I was all set to turn their world upside down. The lavish party was a spectacle of glimmering chandeliers and laughter echoing off marble floors, where champagne flowed freely while I was down on my knees, cleaning a stubborn red wine spill. As I scrubbed, I heard the self-important voice of Rick Sterling, a millionaire CEO, suggesting that I might want to join the festivities as a VIP guest. Unfazed by his misplaced arrogance, I replied calmly, revealing I was part of the cleaning crew. But what he didn't realize was that I was investigating his corrupt practices for a corporate audit. That encounter ignited a storm within me. When he used his influence to have me removed from my high-profile jobs a few days later, it pushed me not to surrender, but to fight back. With a burning determination, I decided to gather evidence against him, hiding my true motives behind the scenes. Partnering with civil rights attorney Malik Freeman, I aimed to expose Rick's deceitful empire. As my story went viral, a humiliating moment turned emblematic of broader injustices. Rick scrambled to salvage his reputation, but the tides had turned. Soon his empire crumbled under the weight of scrutiny, while I ascended, my firm thriving, and my voice echoing across the country as a beacon of resilience. Now, I speak not just about accountability, but the strength found within the struggle. Everyone has the power to rise and create change. Let's share our stories and empower one another, because this fight is far from over. Blaze the glittering chandeliers flickered above, casting a warm glow on the lavish party. Laughter echoed, a sweet melody against the backdrop of clinking glasses. Deja Brooks knelt on the plush carpet, a damp cloth in hand, scrubbing at the red wine that marred its opulence. As she wiped, a figure stepped into her line of sight. "And there, gorgeous," Rick Sterling drawled, his smirk dripping with condescension. "What do you say I get you a drink? You look like you need a break from cleaning." Deja straightened, swallowing her anger. "I appreciate the offer, but I'm actually part of the cleaning team." Her voice was steady, but the heat rising in her cheeks betrayed her humiliation. Rick's laugh was a booming echo, drawing the attention of his friends. "No way. You sure? You look too distinguished for that job?" They snickered, the laughter circling in on her like wolves. Ignoring the rising tide of shame, Deja replied, "Actually, I run a corporate auditing firm." The words hung in the air, heavy with disbelief. The laughter died, but the smirk didn't leave Rick's face. "Sure you do, sweetheart. Enjoy the party." Days later, after a hushed phone call and his influential touch, she found herself unceremoniously removed from several high-profile audits. "What do you mean I'm being let go?" Deja demanded over the phone, voice cracking with betrayal. "Company policy," the voice replied coolly. "We can't afford negative press, especially after that incident." Fury welled inside her. Deja wasn't just any employee, she was the one poised to uncover financial misdeeds at Sterling Holdings. Rick's disdain, dressed in false charm, had cost her everything. No longer would she be a victim, the fight for justice had ignited within her. Deja knelt on the polished marble floor of the opulent ballroom, her hand trembling as she scrubbed the last remnants of the spilled wine. The cacophony of laughter and clinking glasses echoed in contrast to her quiet suffering. She could feel the weight of judgment draping over her shoulders, the subtle glances of the elite guests molding her into a mere specter amidst their extravagance. Rick Sterling, all brash bravado and silver spoons, swaggered over, trapping her in the circle of his arrogance. "Hey, VIP!" he chuckled, flashing his confident grin. "Want some of this?" He gestured to an overflowing glass. His friends erupted in laughter. Deja's heart raced, not from thrilling recognition, but from the sheer humiliation of being objectified, degraded. Beneath her calm exterior, a storm brewed. She was not just a cleaner, but a business owner researching his empire's corruption. Days later, when Rick's venom seeped into her career, stripping her of high-profile projects, the quiet anger morphed into determination. She fought the suffocating weight of oppression with resilience, gathering evidence like a warrior wielding truth against tyranny. Then she met Malik, their shared vision igniting a fire within her. Camouflage footage, capturing her public degradation, that rippled through the corporate world. sparking outrage, igniting discussions of justice. Watching Rick's carefully polished world begin to shatter, she felt a surge of strength, a surge that whispered she was no longer invisible. The energy shifted within her. The quiet resolve transformed into an unyielding promise for herself and others. They had underestimated her, but no longer. Deja knelt on the polished marble floor, the remnants of a spilled Cabernet staining the surface. The luxury party buzzed around her, laughter and clinking glasses drowning her out. Just then, Rick Sterling, the self-proclaimed king of corporate success, swaggered over, a smirk plastered across his chiseled face. "Is this the new VIP experience, or are you lost?" he chuckled, his friends joining in with jeers. Her heart pounded, but she lifted her chin, locking eyes with him. "Actually, I'm here to ensure Sterling Holdings operates without a hitch." The words rolled off her tongue with unexpected confidence, causing a momentary hush among the group. Rick's smirk faltered, confusion flickering across his face. 3 days later, after whispered influence and malicious intent, Deja found herself removed from her high-profile contracts, a bitter resentment swirling within her. But humiliation wouldn't define her. She began to connect the dots, gathering evidence against Rick. With each document and receipt, she felt her purpose sharpen. Malik Freeman, a civil rights attorney, came into the picture, their partnership crystallizing around a shared vision of justice. As she went public with the lawsuit, Deja's voice grew stronger. "We're not backing down until accountability prevails," she stated at a press conference, her quiet strength reverberating through the crowd. When footage of the initial encounter with Rick went viral, the world erupted in support. "Justice for Deja," people shouted while investors fled Sterling Holdings. Slowly, amid the growing outrage, Deja found herself rising. Leaving a storm of corporate disdain behind, she launched into a thriving auditing practice, her firm now a beacon of integrity. As she stood at her alma mater speaking passionately to a new generation, Deja declared, "Never let anyone define your worth." The applause ringing in her ears felt like the anthem of resilience, a comeback she had strategically orchestrated from the ashes of her own struggles. Deja Brooks kneeled on the marble floor, a stark contrast to the crystal chandeliers above and the laughter echoing through the luxurious ballroom. As she scrubbed at a freshly spilled Merlot, Rick Sterling, the arrogant CEO who swaggered through the crowd, approached her with a smirk, mistaking her for a VIP guest. "You know, you'd look even better if you," he started, but his words froze. As Deja rose to her full height, the gleam of her determination cutting through the air. "I clean floors for a living, not as a spectator. Perhaps you'll need my services when your empire crumbles," she replied, her voice steady yet piercing. 3 days later, after a whispered word from Rick led to her dismissal from high-profile engagements, Deja felt the rising tide of frustration swell within her. She couldn't let this man's arrogance determine her worth. With the insight of Malik Freeman, her civil rights attorney, Deja turned her humiliation into a weapon, meticulously gathering evidence against Rick's unethical practices that plagued Sterling Holdings. Days later, the world watched as the footage of her encounter with Rick went viral, exposing not just the humiliation, but the systemic issues embedded within corporate culture. The hashtag Justice for Deja trended, a call to action resonating with countless voices. Rick's desperate attempts to spin the narrative crumbled beneath the weight of public outrage, leading to his ousting, painted by a media frenzy as his empire collapsed around him. In stark contrast, Deja stood as a beacon of resilience, her firm thriving amidst the ashes of Rick's downfall. Invited back to her alma mater, she delivered a stirring speech, celebrating the power of self-worth and the importance of justice. As she spoke, the applause felt like a powerful wave of validation, not just for her, but for all who had been underestimated and silenced. With the lights dimming, Deja's closing words lingered, an echo of hope weaving through the room. "Change begins when we dare to demand justice," she said, a silent applause resonating across the audience, a moment of collective triumph that promised a brighter future. As I sit quietly, reflecting on the whirlwind of events that brought me here, I feel a blend of triumph and humility. The luxury party where I scrubbed a wine spill now feels distant, yet the weight of that moment lingers. The encounter with Rick Sterling will forever mark a pivotal point in my life. I had no idea that standing my ground against his arrogance would ignite a fire that would turn the tide, not just for me, but for countless others. Through the chaos, I learned that standing up for oneself can unravel the trappings of privilege and power. I turned a moment of humiliation into a catalyst for justice, empowering others to share their stories. Yet at times I wonder where the line lies between accountability and vengeance. Have I sought retribution too fiercely? Or did I merely reclaim what was unjustly taken from me? I invite you to reflect with me. Have you ever faced underestimation in your life? What would you have done in my shoes? Share your thoughts and stories in the comments below. Let's build a community of resilience and strength, united in our quest for dignity and justice.